Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Ninja Chickens channel. Thank you for joining me here. This is a fibery related podcast, mostly about knitting and spinning and natural dyeing with a little bit of homesteading, do-it-yourself, and homeschooling thrown in there at the end. We have a grand episode for you today. I am going to start off by telling you who I am. Hi, I'm Maria. You can find me on Instagram as Ninja Chickens, ninja.chickens. You can find me on Ravelry and Facebook as Ninja Chickens. And we have a Ninja Chickens Ravelry group where all kinds of goodness happens if you want to go in and check it out. I am coming to you from my backyard just outside of Asheville, North Carolina in the mountains. We have about 25 acres and some chickens and honeybees and lots of cats. And if anyone happens to be looking for land, there are 2 pieces of property next to me for sale and a house down the road, like right next to our property. So if you want to be neighbors, let me know and I will send you details. Now, let's see. I want to start off straight away with the giveaway that we're doing. We were doing last week for the Coolidge Red yarn from EchoView. Let's see if I can get that. Ooh, it's bright. There we go. There, you can see it. And a skein of sliding rock. Wow, the sun has completely changed since I set this up. Okay, shade. There we go. The clouds have come out and everything's now kind of bright and luminescent. Anyway, the giveaway. You guys, if you haven't been to the Ravelry group to look at the answers in the prompt. The prompt was because I was telling you guys about history in this area and related to knitting and weaving. I asked you if you would tell me a little bit about something in your area that's historic. It didn't have to be related to knitting. However, the responses in there have been really, really cool. And if you haven't seen them, you really need to go you don't have to become a member of my group. Just go look at them. The thread is for, I think it's episode number 11 giveaway. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But some really cool stuff from people all over the world telling you about neat historical things close to them. Every time a new one would come in, I'd be like, hey guys! And I'd call the kids and my husband over and read to them what was happening, because it was very cool. Very cool to see it all. So I would encourage you to go read them. Now, there were 89 entries, I think. Let me see. 87 entries. And I set up random.org right before getting on here. Since my post was the first one, it was 2 through 89. And, oh, sorry, I can't tell if you can see that. There we go. And the winner was number 32, who is Allison, ALL1S0N. And she said, something special and historic where I live in Brooklyn, New York, is the Greenwood Cemetery. My husband and I went walking there when we moved to Brooklyn several years ago. As we were walking up to a mausoleum, a woman in 19th century garb walked around from the back of the building to greet us. We were surprised and confused. It just so happened that day we were in the cemetery. The crypts and mausoleums were open, and they had all sorts of historians in front of each building talking about the people buried within. The inventor of the Singer sewing machine, Jean-Michel Bisquet, I don't know how to pronounce that, the artist, and Leonard Bernstein, the composer, were all buried there. George Washington and his troops also fought the Battle of Brooklyn there. It's a very large, 478 acres, and old, 1838, and special place in Brooklyn. So congratulations, Allison. I will PM you in a week because I want to give you time to see this because it's more fun to find out that you won when you're watching. So I will be sending this to you. But if you see this before you hear from me, then contact me and let me know. And congratulations. Hopefully you guys had fun with that and were able to enjoy some of the entries that the yeah, the entries that people put in and the information they talked about. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so moving on to knitting. I am wearing my finished object. It is, let's see if I can, I'm all red today. It's the Amigas. It's by Dammy Hunter, who is also Magpie Fibers. The yarn is Magpie Fibers, which I overdyed with madder root, and I love how it turned out. So it has wool and cotton and silk in it, and cotton takes a different type of mordant to help bond the dye than wool and silk do. I don't do a lot of cotton dyeing, so I did a little research and decided to make a soy milk bath. Cotton does well with tannins, and soy has some tannins in it, and there may be other chemicals that help it bond. I'm not sure, I couldn't find good details. But I made a soy milk bath and soaked it in that, and then let it dry, and then soaked it again for about 10 minutes, and then let it dry, and then soaked it again for 10 minutes, and let it dry. I did that a bunch, and then left it overnight. And there was a bunch of different information. Some people say, you need to leave it in the soy milk bath for a month. The ancient Chinese left it in there for a year. All kinds of stuff. I thought, well, I don't have a year, so I'll just soak it, dry it, soak it, dry it, and really kind of build it up on there. So I did that, and then I put the whole thing, this was after I knit it, then I put the whole thing in a bath with aluminum acetate, and aluminum sulfate. The aluminum sulfate bonds well with wool and silk, protein fibers. The aluminum acetate bonds well with cotton, especially when there is a tannin involved, and I had just soaked it in the soy, so I was hoping that with all of the soaking and all of the different mordanting it would come out fine, and it did. I put it in the madder bath, and it just, I mean, it was like blood red. It was really pretty, and had so much color left over in there that I put some silks and other things in. But I'm really proud of how it turned out. I think it looks really good. I love the texture down the side. It was super simple. It's a worsted weight yarn, so it's a quick knit. You just knit the two pieces, and then you seam up the shoulders and the sides, and it's super cozy. So I'm really excited about that. And this is her solstice yarn. I just got the white. It wasn't called white, but it was basically just the undyed or white solstice yarn. So that is my one finished object. I have, well, I had a little cast-on party a couple days ago, so I have a couple of things for you. I've been working on the design that of my own that I'm coming up with. That's going to be, I guess you'd call it a poncho, and this is the basic border design, if you can see that. There, that's a little better. And right now I'm knitting this in Fern Fibers 7 Sister yarn, but we're not working with this one much anymore. It's a fabulous yarn. We just have been doing a lot more local yarns. So I am probably going to look into another linen base to work with for this, but I like how it's coming out, and I don't think it's going to take too much longer to knit up. It's going to be fairly simple, but like a delicate summer wear, I think. So that's my design I'm working on. The next thing I casted on was the Shard Shawl by Rosemary Hill. I saw that, oh, it had to have been over a year ago on the Fat Squirrels podcast. Amy Beth was talking about it and had knit one, and it was just stunning. It's based on that final shard piece that fits into the dark crystal to bring back the light. We talked about the dark crystal last time because of Fizzgig, the dog, but the movie The Dark Crystal was a big thing when I was a kid, and I loved it. And so it was kind of fun that I liked this shawl so much, and then I liked the movie. But anyway, Amy Beth knit it out of 2 skeins instead of 1, and made it much larger and did some tweaks to it, and I loved the way she did it. So I'm doing it just the same way she is. And this is what I've got so far. I'm using another Crafty Girls Triangle Lovers Club yarn, and this is what it's looking like so far. So this is the beginning, and then you do these oh, what are they called? Shards. I don't know. The short rows, basically, to create this kind of design. And then I'll continue adding onto the top, and it will be short on this end and then wider through this end. But I really like it. You just do the short rows in, have I got it backwards? I do. You do the short rows in the area where you have your pop of color. And it's just funky looking when it's done, but really pretty. So I'm excited about that one. I cast that on. That was kind of my popcorn knit, I guess you'd call it, something kind of simple when I'm not having to think about lace for this next design, which I picked out. This third work in progress is the Modern Dye, I think it's called. It's by Kate Davies. And I just had, I don't know why, I felt like I needed something big. So I wanted to do a HAP, H-A-P, which is like a traditional Shetland shawl or blanket. And they can be pretty big. And so I looked, and I have lots of yarn, fern fibers, alpaca yarn that I was thinking of using. And so I was like, okay, this is the amount of yarn I have. What can I do with that? And I found one that was 6 feet by 6 feet. So I'm going to do the biggest HAP there is. And this is what it looks like. Oh, I didn't show you a picture of the, do I have a picture of the shard? I think I do. Yes. So that is, oh goodness gracious. There, I'll give it a little bit of, there, you can see this one up top. I apologize for the lighting. I moved it all around today. I usually podcast in the morning because the lighting's better and it's not so bright. It gets really bright here in the afternoon, so I'm under one of the trees. But I guess there's just enough light coming through that it makes it kind of a glare. Oh, that's that one. Okay, so the Modern Dye is a very large HAP that I think is just going to be really nice to curl up in the winter. All right, let's put it this way. There we go. So that does not show the size of it. Let me show you the one where Kate Davies is standing next to it. There we go. You see how big it is? It's taller than she is. But I'm excited about this. I think it's going to be really nice. Right now, so I'd never done a HAP before. It turns out traditional Shetland HAPs are worked from the outside in. So I'm starting with the lace border, and I'm going to knit the whole border basically in a long strip and then pick up like 500 something stitches and knit inward. So this is what I've got so far. I'm using some of Fern Fibers alpaca yarn. This is madder dyed, and this is the beginning of the lace. So I've done 3 repeats out of 71. Let's see. Yeah, it just looks better when there's green in the background. And it's really pretty. So I have 4 skeins of this. This is Xanthias and Apollo. They were 2 white, or are 2 white alpaca, and we dyed it with madder. So I have 4 of this. And then I also have these other colors because there's a, after the first lace border, there's some color repeats. And I just thought it'd be really pretty to mix them up. The red as the central color and the border color. And then these other neutrals. Yeah, as the accent colors. And I think all but one is Fern Fiber, which that'd be kind of cool to have the whole big Fern Fiber blanket. So that is work in progress number 3. Put this back. So I don't have any spinning. I did start on the camel, but really not enough to show you much about it, not to make a difference. So I'm not going to show you that, but I did want to show you something that I'm hoping to be cleaning and spinning at some point in the next decade. I say that because I'm such a slow spinner. When I was designing my Fleece flight shawl, it was meant to be, I don't know if you know, like a flight of beers is when you get to try a little bit of a bunch of different beers, a beer flight. So my Fleece flight is where you get to try a bunch of different yarns, and specifically conservation breeds, rare or endangered sheep breeds. And I picked 6 different breeds. One of the breeds I really wanted to highlight was the Hog Island sheep, and partly because it's so rare. But I couldn't find any yarn. I may have found a couple of hand spinners on Etsy, but it wasn't something that anyone else would be able to go out and get because there was very little yarn. So I ended up not getting it. But when I was at, so let me tell you just a sec about Hog Island. And actually, if you're interested, Evelyn of the Thistle Hollow podcast just went to one of the places where they are currently raising Hog Island sheep, and has some really nice pictures and talks about it in her most recent podcast. But so Hog Island is an island off the coast of Virginia, and in the 17th century, people came over and colonized the island, brought some sheep for fleece and meat. They lived there for a couple hundred years until the 1930s and 40s, when there were some severe storms that hit the island and destroyed a lot of the buildings, and the people moved off, leaving the sheep behind. It's not known exactly what kind of sheep these were originally. Some people say they were merino, some people say they may have been British breeds, but over those couple hundred years of being there and not intermingling with other sheep, they developed kind of their own characteristics, their hardiness, being good moms, doing good in all kinds of weather, and developed kind of into their own breed. So in the 1970s, I think it was the Nature Conservancy went in. Yeah, so in the 1970s, the Nature Conservancy went in, they bought the island, and they rounded up all the sheep and realized this is something special we've got here. These are not like sheep we have anywhere else. Called them the Hog Island sheep, and then brought them to different places that would help to try and work with the genetics and preserve the breed. So one of the places was Mount Vernon, which is George Washington's old home. Another place was Virginia Tech, and there are a few other places. So there are currently less than 200 registered Hog Island sheep. It's very rare, considered critical, I believe, on the endangered list. When I was at Maryland Sheep and Wool, I saw a board with information about Hog Island sheep, so I stopped and talked with the woman who was standing next to the board, and she happened to be the woman who is the livestock manager of the sheep at Mount Vernon. So we chatted a bit about the sheep and about my shawl and how I really wanted to get some yarn. And she said, well, we're going to be shearing in a couple of weeks. If you want a fleece, let me know. So I wrote down my name and number. And last week got an email from her, actually, that they had some fleece and would I like one. I was like, absolutely, that would be amazing. So we chatted a bit about it, and Hog Island are 90% white. They're almost all white. There are about 10% that have some color to them, maybe a little black or a little brown or a little gray, but it's more rare. So I said, do you happen to have a nice fleece with some color to it? And she goes, oh, absolutely, I have the right one for you. And her name is Nymphadora. Now, if any of you guys are Harry Potter fans, or you know me, you know I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Nymphadora Tonks was one of the good guys in Harry Potter. So this sheep had been born the year they named all the sheep after Harry Potter characters. So I got Nymphadora's fleece. And it happened to show up about an hour ago when I was starting to get ready for podcasting. So I haven't even looked at it yet. So let's see. Let me get myself situated so you guys can see it with me. Sorry for all the crinkles. Okay. I'm going to turn the camera down. See if this works. Yes. All right. So here it is. It's a massive box. Nymphadora. You can't see that because of the light. It says Nymphadora. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is going to crinkle. I'm going to take the whole thing out. Hold your ears. Wow, this is massive. Look. Wow, look at that color. So check that out. Hold it on my lap. There's grays, there's blacks. Oh, I can feel the lanolin in there. Maybe what I'll do, after I film this is I will lay it out on the patio and take some pictures so you can see it. But it's very pretty just from looking at this. Wow, there's a lot of lanolin. This is going to be fun. I don't know why I do this to myself. I'm not a fast spinner. I buy fleece and then I take all the time to, you know, skirt them and clean them and wash them and all of that. And then they just sit there. So there's no way I'm going to spin this whole thing. Just saying. If some of you want to experiment with it, let me know and we'll see what we can do. Oh, and let me put this away and move this so you can see me again. Is that good? Yep, good enough. Okay. And her name, the livestock manager, is Lisa Pregent, and she has more fleece. I think they're mostly white. However, it's $40 for a full fleece. That's got to be like 4 pounds right there. That's a good price for a rare breed fleece that's, you know, it's got a nice crimp to it. It feels pretty soft. So I will put her contact information. I'll put it down here. Raise this up a tiny bit more. But I will also put it in my show notes. The show notes are on the website, which is ninjachickens.org, and they're also on the Ravelry group. So if you are interested in getting a Hog Island fleece, then contact Lisa. All right. Yay, Nymphadora. She was one of my favorite characters too, so that's cool. All right, what else do I have for you? So dyeing. Along with dyeing this, I also, like I said, I dyed up some silks. And I just dyed them, I just dyed them plain, stuck the silks in there in the madder. And some of them were wardented, some of them weren't, so they picked up different colors. I dyed them with the intention of eco-printing over them, just to see how it would take, how it would create contrast and stuff like that. So I've only unwrapped one, and I was going to show you that, and then I have two to unwrap while we're here. One of the things that I put in there, other than plants, is these little pieces of copper. My neighbor who made me the moon phases gave me these. He said, I'm not going to use them. I don't even remember what I had them for, but I thought it would be fun to put these in there and see what kind of color change it created. In this first one, it didn't create a whole lot, but we'll see. This is madder. And then on it, I had lupine, birch, hydrangea, the copper pieces, butterfly pea flowers, and passion flower. So it's not so easy to see. Let's see. You can definitely see the butterfly pea flower. That created that really pretty blue pop. But you can see some leaves in here, but it's not as easy to see when it's first unrolled. When I wash it and then steam it or iron it, then you can see the pattern a lot better. But it's going to be really pretty. It's looking very pink. It's a deep red. But let's see. There was a spot. Oh, there's spots here. I don't even know if you can see them. Here's one. Can you see that kind of silver? That's where the copper was. It's really interesting, the color. It's almost like a bluey silver. But I'll wash this and I will put this on my Instagram feed so you can see what it looks like. And let's open a couple more. This one didn't look like it was going to take a lot. It was such a dark red. I wasn't sure how it would work. But I also have these. Holding them where you can see them. Gosh, it's glary. Let's do this. If I give it a little shade, they're pink. I have a bunch more, but they're all still wet. I like to try and let them dry completely before I unroll them. So, let's see. This one is silk and madder, and then fennel, apple, passion flower, and butterfly pea flower. I just wanted to see how that would dye up. It makes such a blue tea. I thought it might be fun. All right. I'm going to see if I can move the camera to get a better picture. Let's see. Okay, now you have my fleece as a background, but I think that's going to be a little bit better for the color. So here we go. Mm. Oh, look at that. It's still a little bit moist. I probably could have waited a little bit longer, but whoa, look at that. So all that blue is the butterfly pea flower. That puts out a lot of color. And then I see some passion flower prints. And that yellow, I think, is the apple. How fun. There's another passion flower here at the end. So yeah, once this one is dried, steamed and dried, or washed and ironed, you'll really be able to see. Yay! They turned out well. And then I have one more, just because it's fun. It's like presents. Opening presents. All right, this one is hydrangea, hibiscus, passion flower, and butterfly pea flower. I use that a lot, I guess, on these silks. So here's what it looks like. All right, here we are, starting to unroll. Wow, so it was originally this peachy color, right? But you can see where some of those flowers actually took the color out of it. So I'm just going to shake it out. Oh, this is so pretty. Check that out. So it looks like the hydrangea actually drained some of the color, which I love. Let me see if I can pull some of this top for you. Look at that. How fun. So I did, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 more silks, and I did some sock blanks too. I'm trying to get some more of this in during the summer while there's so much to dye with. So I'll put some of those up in the store maybe. I have some ideas for gifts too for some people, so we'll see. But it's a lot of fun, and I'll have some pictures on Instagram with all of those too. Okay, let's see. Oh, so I have some very exciting news. I know I told you a couple episodes ago that I had a pattern coming out in Rib Magazine. Rib Magazine came out with its first issue fairly recently, and it is a magazine with knitting patterns for men. So it's for men who knit, or for people who knit for men, and there really aren't any other magazines like that, specifically men's knitwear. So I have a mitt pattern in there called Direction Mitts, and it came out yesterday officially. They're on their way to the shops, to your home, stuff like that. So I wanted to show you my mitts. I did one for the magazine, and then I also knit some for Toby. So the back side of the hand is fairly simple. Just looks like this. And then the palm looks like that. So they are, because it's a ribbed pattern, it fits pretty much any adult hand. So that's the back side, and then the palm, which has the arrow pointing you in the right direction. And I was inspired by a moment where I saw my husband standing on the patio, and he had reached his hands out to pick Leaf up. And it was just this sweet, genuine moment where he was, offering him comfort and trust. And I just liked it, and I liked that idea of the palms being out and the direction of love and trust and comfort, going towards children or towards those you love. So that's what inspired it. And this is knit out of fern fiber yarn. It's Rosabelle the Romney. It's a bulky weight yarn, and we have it in the shop right now. I dyed up some with black walnut, and we dyed some up with rosemary. So we have 2 different colors, if you're interested in getting those. But it's a simple pattern, but a nice one. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to see what else is in there. There's some really neat designs that it looks like. It looks like some really neat designs coming out in that magazine. Let's see what else has been happening. So Leaf and I have been studying Swedish. I can't remember if I've mentioned this or not. We're just using the website Duolingo to learn a little bit more. I've been wanting to travel to a Scandinavian country or in that whole area for a long time. And I feel like if I'm traveling to another country, it's nice to know at least a little bit of that country's language. And because there's so many different languages in that area, I Googled to see which language was spoken the most. And Swedish came up as the one that had the most speakers, if that makes any sense. So I decided to start trying to learn it, and they happened to have it on Duolingo. So when I pulled it up and was starting to learn, Leaf came over and said, "What are you doing?" So I told him, he's like, "I want to learn it with you," and he picks it up like that. It's so quick. So he and I have been doing that for a few months, and I watch the Kamabornia podcast, which is a Swedish podcast that is translated. And that was another reason why I thought, oh, well, wouldn't that be fun to try and understand a little bit about what they're saying without having to read the translation. So Pia and Dennis Kamaborn have a book, a photography book called Picnic that's also about picnics. And it's all in Swedish. It hasn't been translated. So I asked Leif, I said, do you want to get that book from them and see if we can translate it ourselves? It's going to take a long time, but wouldn't it be fun, especially since what they're teaching us on Duolingo right now is a lot about food. So, so he was like, yeah, sure. So we ordered that book, and I got that. Picnic. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful coffee table book, even if you don't speak Swedish, because of some of the pictures in there. I mean, they're just stunning pictures. And there are some recipes, which has been fun to try and figure those out. So I told Pia what I was doing with Leaf and that we were learning Swedish. And she sent some children's books, which I thought was so sweet. She sent him some kids' books. Linnea och Hittehunden, The Pirate and the Princess, Pirater och Prinsessor, and this I'm not going to be able to pronounce, Kakel I Grunsaxlandet. So one at a time, real slowly, we will go through these and just translate each one and figure out what it means. And I thought, what a fun way to learn a new language. So thank you, Pia and Dennis. It was very, very sweet, and I'm super excited about these. It's seems like a really fun summer project. When the days are hot and we need to be inside to cool off, lay out on the rug, pull out our books, and do a little translating. So that is, other than the Fleece, one of my acquisitions. And let's see, we're almost at the end. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys about a retreat that I'm going to be going to, because I know it's not full yet, and it sounds like it's going to be amazing. So some of you may watch Sarah of the Fiber Trek. She has a podcast, and she does knitting and outdoors related retreats. And she has a new one coming up called Wool Scouts. And this retreat, it sounds so cool. So it's in mid-August in the deep woods of Maine. So deep that you have to take a float plane to get in to this area, which I'm super excited about. And it's not just knitting. Actually, here, let me read you this. I printed this out. It says the Wool Scouts retreat, held deep in the Maine North Woods, is about landing. It's about connecting with place, leaning into our craft, and finding the deep connection one can have with landscape. Join Mary Jane Mucklestone to explore the traditional mittens of the area, learn how to start flint and steel fires, paddle, try your hand at fly fishing. Come land for a while in the wilderness, dig your hands in, eat amazing food, talk with friends, and lean in. We'll be gathering at Bradford Camps, a classic Maine camp, with the only structures on Munsungan Lake, surrounded by 3.5 million acres of forest. Now that sounds like heaven to me. Some of you city people might be like, that is way too far out, but that just sounds amazing. Aside from the fact that there's going to be knitting, there's going to be, it sounds like there might be some indigo dyeing, there's going to be fly fishing, so it's like primitive type skills as well as knitting. And I think we're even going to learn how to make a Norwegian knitting weaving tool. I can't remember, but it sounds like so much fun. It's August 13th through 17th, and to get in, you literally have to, well, I think you can go a different way, but they recommend you go in on the float plane, which is, for those of you who don't know, a plane that only takes off and lands on water. So I'm super excited. So if you are interested in that retreat, because there are still some openings, I would highly recommend you check out Fiber Trek, the Fiber Trek podcast, or Sarah's website. I will put the information in here so you've got it, and I'll put it in my show notes. But it would be awesome to see some of you there. It sounds like a lot of fun. And the last thing is I have a tea recipe for you. Yay! I was inspired to make some tea. This tea, let's see if I can find, let's get the little one. Let's see if you can see the, oh, it focused for a second. No, it wants to focus on the background. Well, this is called Summerberry Special because it's a really nice tea in the winter, but it's also really great iced tea. I really like tart teas as an iced tea to quench my thirst when it's really hot. So here it is. It's nice and red. And red must be my thing lately with all this madder root dyeing and red teas. Uh-oh. I'm going to finish fast because someone just started up a chainsaw. Okay, so this has blueberries, hibiscus, rose hips, strawberry leaf, and orange peel. It's really tangy. It has that nice tanginess to it, sourness, but it's super high in antioxidants because of the berries and the rose hips and the hibiscus flower. So yeah, I guess I can just tell you here. I'm never sure if I should tell you exactly what's in it right now or if I should just put it in my notes and have you go check, because I didn't know if you guys like pause it and write it down. But I'll tell you. 30 grams of dried blueberries. You can use fresh blueberries if you have them. You don't have to buy the dried ones, because often the dried ones you will find with extra sugar and canola oil or something. If you can find plain out dried blueberries without anything else in them, that's great. Or just use fresh ones. That's fine. You would just add, ooh, mosquitoes just came out. You would add a little bit more of the dried blueberries or fresh blueberries. So 30 grams of dried blueberries, 10 grams of dried hibiscus flower, 10 grams of rose hips. And people have been asking me, when using rose hips, how do you use them? I prefer them what's called cut and sifted, which basically means the seeds and the little hairs that are on the inside have been removed and they're kind of chopped up. But if you have whole rose hips and that's what you want to use, that's fine. 10 grams of dried strawberry leaf and 10 grams of dried orange peel. It's a really nice, light, citrusy tea. So I hope you like that. I will also have some links to a couple of my favorite herb stores in the show notes if you want to see that or figure out where you can order things. And I think that's it. Other than the mosquitoes. Yeah. Yay! So nice to see you today. I hope you guys are doing really well. I hope you guys have an awesome couple of weeks. I know we're going to be doing some gardening and some blueberry picking and some strawberry picking and just enjoying the summer. So, yeah, thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. If that mockingbird won't sing